Welcome back. Education expert Colin Northmore, principal of Evolve Online School, says one of the best indicators of the quality of an online school is its international MAP ranking, which is a gold standard benchmarking tool that monitors consistent student growth and tracks effective teaching and learning. Northmore also explains factors that parents should look out for when assessing an online school's ability to deliver academic excellence. He joins us now in studio to talk more about this ranking and what you should be looking for as a parent considering this particular option. Colin, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sorry,
it is indeed. It is afternoon.
You
are the
for
correct one.
opportunity.
So we are seeing an increasing growth of online schooling in the country. There are a lot of parents who are beginning and are increasingly considering this route as a viable option for their children. Why is that becoming the case?
I think there are a couple of reasons for that. One of them is cost. It's certainly a lot cheaper often to follow an online school route than to try and get into a private education school or institution. And I think the other reason is their experience during COVID. So, you know, when we did go into lockdown and there were a number of schools that were able to deliver online learning to their children, that they discovered that their children actually responded better in that sort of environment than in the physical school environment.
Yeah. So a lot of the parents are often overwhelmed by the massive range of schools and what they are offering. And also, even the quality varies drastically from school to school. That can often be confusing for the parents,
I think
right?
it's very hard for a parent to be able to make a comparison because often the way in which these schools deliver the curriculum is also just as varied. So how do you compare them? And the quality part of it, there is no policy in South Africa yet that allows an online school to register with the Department of Education. So you can't use that as a benchmark in our country. They're working on it and it will come, but it's just not something that exists at present. So you have to look for other indicators of quality when you're looking at a school. All
right, let's look at the other indicators then. How do we assess the quality of an online school?
So, and there was an article in the news recently about Umalusi warning parents about schools that are fraudulently issuing Umalusi certificates. So the first question you ask is, what's the matric endpoint? You know, what certificate will my child end up with? And it is possible for an online school to be accredited by one of the examining bodies. So in our case, for example, we're accredited with both the Independent Examination Board and with Cambridge International. Now, why is that important? Because they have people who come in and they do quality assurance of the online school to ensure that their accreditation is not diluted. And then there's the MAP testing, which you spoke about earlier. So it's very difficult for a parent because the school does its own assessments. So how do they know whether those assessments are up to standard or quality? And a good answer to that is if an online school actually has an external benchmark, international benchmark of quality, like the MAP test. There are a number of these benchmarks across the world that an online school can take advantage of.
And what does this MAP test actually evaluate?
It evaluates a child's reading ability, it evaluates their grammar and English skills, and it evaluates their mathematical skills. We also can use it to evaluate milestones in foundation phase children's development, and we can use it to look at their science and their critical thinking. Okay,
so as a parent, you should not just solely rely on your school's promotional material
Absolutely
and also
not.
The promises that they're making in their brochures.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think you should ask the hard questions. So we do provide parents with some points of comparison. Are the teachers teaching in that school properly qualified teachers? Now, that's not unique to the online environment. There are a lot of people who've been exploited by, you know, these pop-up, fly-by-night physical schools that don't employ teachers or don't have proper accreditation with the Department of Education. So it's not really a new problem. It's just it's a new avenue for exploitation in society.
So as a parent, you've got every right to ask the school, what's your MAP test and what other indicators have you used to help me as a parent decide whether this is the right school or not?
Sure. They won't necessarily have a MAP test result. It depends what benchmark they use. But the question you need to ask is there an external benchmark of performance or quality?
Okay. So knowing beforehand right, that the school is excellent, is an excellent standing in terms of international benchmark, I imagine can save a lot of money as well. It's saving a lot of time as well. Just help our viewers who are considering these options as to why it's important to actually assess the quality of that education in the school and how it saves not just time but money as well.
Well, the thing is that it's so easy to say, I'm going to set up an online school and I'm going to offer, education to children. What a parent needs and what a parent has a right to is an understanding of what are the affiliations of that online school. We, for example, are an AdvoTech school. So, is there a governance of that school? And questions around what curriculum are they offering, how can they prove that the content that they're offering has been delivered by professionals? Those are some of the things. Saving time is simply because there have been so many children who've spent an entire year or a couple of years in a so-called online school, only to discover at the end that that school isn't accredited and they've got no proof. They've got to start again.
Let's just look at, since the advent of these online schools, what have you observed as the trend? Are you beginning to see that a lot of people are seeing a lot of benefit in joining online schools? You mentioned earlier the issue of affordability, but just generally speaking, since we started seeing these online schools, how are parents and even the pupils themselves experiencing them?
So our parents have spoken about the fact that they can now have a lifestyle that actually matches the child's needs. So they don't have to go at the same pace as every child in the class. And so certainly children with barriers to learning, neurodiversity, find that this is a much more helpful environment for them. They've also found that the anxiety gets taken away. Also depends on the model that the school follows. But our children are becoming more independent. They are advancing at a pace that is, easily recognizable as faster. Our teachers don't have sick leave. They don't need sick leave. If they miss a class, they just reschedule it. So all that lost education due to substitution or those sorts of things is not a feature of our school. And I can also employ teachers from anywhere. So I'm able to really up the quality of the teachers that I employ. I've got a teacher teaching from Portugal, for example, and one from Dubai. So it's possible for me to find good teachers and retain them, because if they move, they don't have to leave the school because it's not a physical, restriction as far as that is concerned. And then we also have some really top sports people who find it easier to spend time on their discipline, a top ballerina, which allows those kinds of children to have a far more flexible lifestyle and take their school with them wherever they go in the world.
So that convenience is not only on the pupils but on the teachers as well. Does that make this attractive to teachers who often leave the traditional kind of schooling and then are coming to join your ranks?
I can honestly say I have one of the most happy and fulfilled staff. That it's my 20th year of being a principal, most of that time in brick and mortar schools. And the staff that I have at Evolve are remarkable. They're satisfied, they're committed, they're dedicated, and they find the flexibility that they have in their lives is what allows them to focus when they need to focus and have a better balance in their lives.
Let's talk about self-discipline. I imagine that's quite important if this is the kind of option you want to consider, because you don't have anyone looking at you in class and forcing you to actually do the work, right?
So self-regulation is one of the core skills that anybody needs to be successful in life, being able to schedule things to work to a plan. We've designed our curriculum in such a way that it actually leads to that in our children. We employ fourth-year university students from Varsity College to be what we call learning coaches. And they help the children learn the skills to regulate. We have a full transferable skills program that we implement in our school as well. So we recognize that you don't start off necessarily being self-disciplined, but with the right support and the right structures in place, it's possible to become more self-regulatory. And a lot of our parents comment on how independent their children have become. It's not a mistake. It's not an accident. It's something that's part of the design of the flow. It's a good question to ask when you're asking about online schools.
Yeah. And what about the role of parents in also just keeping tabs on how far their children are and how committed and disciplined they are, what role do they play?
So they've got a very important role to play. We have a live dashboard, so our parents can see within 24 hours exactly how their children are doing from moment to moment, in terms of handing things in on time, but also in terms of their academic performance. And what you will find is that parents start to become more involved. Remember, if you drop your child off at a brick and mortar school, it's a black box. You let them go, they go in there, learning happens, they come out, and you have no way of directly accessing what's going on in the classroom. In our case, you can actually sit and watch the lesson being taught. So you have a direct access as a parent. And we record all our lessons. So if you weren't able to watch it being taught, if you're interested, you can always go and watch it afterwards. Our parents also have direct links with the teachers. So they communicate immediately if there's an issue. I know immediately if there's an issue. And it's a very quick feedback loop. So things don't get time to get out of control in this context.
Yeah, and do you have subjects that are more popular that people take for online classes?
We have a full range. So for matric, we have 18 subjects that children can take, including hard-to-find subjects like visual arts and drama. But we also do science and, accountancy and history and geography, all the normal. We're an IB school, so we offer the normal gamut of IB matric subjects.
All right. Colin Northmore, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, and good luck there at the school. We'll be back after this.